Hello, tea family. Welcome to the replay. How are you? I hope you all are doing wonderful. I will tell you, say hello. Let me know in the chat or the comments what you're drinking tonight. And we are going to be talking about a couple of different fun things tonight. But first, I want you to know that I'm going to have to give up trying to figure out what kind of tea to serve. Because, as you recall, last Sunday, I wanted to make mocktails and we had snow accumulating. Yesterday, when I planned everything else and pre-prepped, we hit almost 100 degrees. And guess what? Today, we're back to being chilly. But I'm still doing the mocktails because I've already prepped it and we're good to go. And I want to talk about it because in a few days, we're going to go back up into the 70s and 80s, probably maybe even the 90s again, because where I live, the weather goes up and down like crazy. So let me know that you're here, what you're enjoying for a beverage, and we're going to kind of talk about two different things. Now, normally what I've been doing this year is kind of highlighting one of the teas. I'm sort of doing that today, but I'm not going to talk about pairings or anything like that. I'm talking about natural Easter eggs, and I'm talking about some fun tea-based mocktails that we will be serving. And I wanted to start with that. We're going to start right away. The tea that I'm using this week is Maiden's Blush. Now, Maiden's Blush is one of our caffeine-free blends. And the reason why we like the caffeine-free blend is because you can enjoy it anytime. And then anybody who has an issue with caffeine at the end of the day doesn't have to give up their fun mocktail. But we're also kind of gearing up a little bit towards Easter. And a lot of times people have huge get-togethers during the Easter holiday and family gets together. It is a very big family holiday event. And with regard to Easter, that's when a lot of the tables will go fancy. I know that at one year, man, okay, we won't think about how many years ago it was because it was well over 10, might have been over 15, could even be close to 20. All right, let's just not really count those years. But my sister was coming with her 5 children, and my husband and I and the children that we had at the time were there, and new tablecloth, really fancy napkins, and bring out all the china and everything like that. And I know we're not the only ones who used to have that. Those kind of holidays stopped more frequently only because we were moving and we were the only ones around, but we would still get dressed up and we would still have the fancy lunch. And what could be fancier than having some tea-based mocktails? And that is what we're going to talk about. So we're going to use our Maiden's Blush, which is rooibos and rose petals. Again, rose petals are going to add a honey note, and so that is going to be a theme that we're going to see tonight. And one of the things I often talk about is that when you're making mocktails, to go ahead and perhaps for like your third brew, and what I'm doing is right here, I've got make some ice cubes. So that's exactly what I did. And as you can see, they're not the most perfect. Now, I do have some really fun looking ones that are perfectly square, but that's not what I had at the time. So I went with a traditional. And we're going to do a super, super simple mocktail. And we're going to call it a rose gold spritz. Now, if our friend Stephanie is here, I see Kim is here having Starlight Pear. Kim, we almost did Starlight Pear for these mocktails for Easter. Just FYI, I was this close, and then I thought, no, let's do Maiden's Blush. And then Diane's here with hot breakfast blend. Yep. Let me tell you, we all know that I'm the one who's cold all the time. I do want to say that the handy dandy assistant is sitting right over there to help, and he's in the one who came downstairs with a blanket on today. Just saying, it wasn't me. It wasn't me this time. It was the handy dandy assistant. So, enjoy. Okay, so we're gonna do the rose gold spritz, and this is super easy. First we're gonna put that there, and I'm gonna literally just gonna drop a couple of our Maiden's Blush ice cubes in here. And one of the benefit of the live is that Rich and I are the only ones that are going to drink these, so I can actually use my hands. Otherwise I would use the tongs. Now, this means that as this melts, because hopefully your temperature is above freezing. As this melts, you're not going to dilute your drink. All right. Now, this one is super easy. It's also one of the reasons why we started it. I have brewed up Maiden's blush right here, and I put some in the ice cube tray, and then I just let this cool. I brewed it up yesterday morning, and then it just literally sat on the counter till it was cool enough to put in the refrigerator. All right, so that's our base for all our mocktails tonight. Looks really good, and actually, you don't have to go any further. The honey notes from the rose petals make this a wonderful sipping tea, and you could be happy just like this. And many times, Rich and I, in the hot weather, like yesterday, where we were literally at 98 degrees, that is the perfect just sipping in the afternoon. However, what we want to do is we want to add about an ounce of apple juice. Okay. We also want to do, now normally I would do a squeeze of lime, but I'm only going to do a squeeze of lemon because our lime didn't look so good. I got it a couple of days ago at the grocery store and it didn't look so good. And now for the really, really fun part. I have here some just edible gold dust glitter. And we're just going to, like, I don't know, not even a teaspoon. And then this one is really fun. And I have my Easter themed things here. We're going to just do a quick little stir. And hopefully you see all that glitter in there, just swirling around. And it's just edible glitter. And then this one is really good with a nice little apple on top. And I added a festive Easter little pick. Now, obviously, I could also do it like this if I wanted to, however you want. And then every time you move and every time you take a sip, that glitter, so good, is going to mix around again and kind of come around. Now, it has a sweetness to it. Rooibos can be really harsh to some people's palates. The rose petals soften it, and then adding that just that little bit of apple juice, and it's just enough to add a hint of more sweetness, but super fun, super yummy. I like the apple because we put some apple juice in it, but you could put whatever you want. Now, if this wasn't sweet enough, you can always add a little bit more apple juice, or you could add a honey syrup to it. So equal parts honey and water just kind of mixed together. And there you go. So that is, see if you can see those, the glitter. I love the little glitter, but that is our rose gold spritz for tonight. But we're not done. We're going to do another mocktail literally almost right away. Okay. So I wanted to do this because so many times we want to do the fancy things, but we may not want to have all the sugar. And you saw there's actually very little. I didn't even add the honey to this one. I just literally added a little bit of apple juice and then the rose gold. And you could go with that. If you wanted to make it sweeter, you can. Again, and this is another thing, this one doesn't have any soda water or seltzer water or tonic water. You could always add something like that, but it doesn't need it. And that's why this would be really fun for like a punch or drinks, because it can sit a little bit, especially if you've made the ice cubes. Okay. So the next one we are going to do is going to be a very unusual mocktail. So typically we're adding fruits or we're adding fruit juices or extracts or different things like that. But this one, we're going to add something a little bit different. I don't want to give away, so let me take my little topper off. Okay, so we are, again, I'm trying to avoid the shaker because we all know I make such a mess with the shaker. Sorry, everybody. I really am. There we go. Trying. All right. Now, this one, I'm not going to add my ice cubes right away. I'm going to add those later. But we are going to put, I would put probably 3 to 4 ounces of the Maiden's blush. I did make the Maiden's blush a little bit heavier. Instead of doing 2.5 grams or 1 teaspoon to 8 ounces of water, I did it to about 6 ounces of water. So I made it a little bit stronger, but not a lot. I've got this. Now, I'm going to add this right here. And I know you don't know what that is, but that's because earlier today, I made a strawberry balsamic glaze. So I took 1/3 of a cup of chopped strawberries, fresh strawberries that have just come in. Strawberries are currently in our freeze dryer for all our teas for the next year. They just came in this week from our farm. Now, I took, like I said, 1/3 of a cup chopped up strawberry, and that's like 3 to 4 strawberries, depending on how big they are. It's going to be more like 4 strawberries, maybe even 5 if they're really small. Ours are pretty decent size, so it was like 3 to 4. I also 1 teaspoon, or if you don't like the balsamic taste, a 1/2 teaspoon of a decent balsamic vinegar. Not ones that are mostly vinegar, a true aged balsamic vinegar. A 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon. I added a teaspoon in this one. I also added a teaspoon of maple syrup. I used some organic 100% maple syrup. And then I know I added something. Oh, I added not even a pinch of salt. Basically, I added about 5 crystals of salt in here just to kind of cut. And that is what I put in here. I can't think of anything else. I think those were the only ingredients. Yes, those were the only ingredients. But this strawberry balsamic, you could add this in as a strawberry balsamic dressing if you wanted to add some olive oil or some other things to it. But I kept it really, really simple. The only other thing that I wish I had added would I wish I had muddled up some fresh basil, but we're still growing our basil right now. So, but I'm going to add about a 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon of this. And you're going to notice there's chunks coming out because I just muddled the strawberries and then added everything else in and just gave it a good stir. Now, the vinegar is going to add some incredible depth of flavor, bring out, there's no tannins because this is an herbal blend. However, it is going to bring out some of those depths of flavors and kind of almost fool your taste buds into thinking it kind of was finished in an oak barrel like a wine or things like that. Now, the next thing I do want to add just a little bit. A honey syrup would be perfect, but I don't have any honey syrup ready right now. So I'm going to add about, that was a little more than I wanted to add, but I would say about a teaspoon of maple syrup or honey. And those two can really be done. Now I am going to use my muddler and I'm going to just stir that up. Makes a really loud sound. Surprised me. And then I just have my simple little strawberry. This one I used the little green. You could also just kind of slice your strawberry on it like that. This completely changes the flavor of the Maiden's blush. You have a little bit more of the depth of flavor with the balsamic, but you get the sweetness of the strawberry also in there. Nice, light, actually very refreshing. And again, you want a little bit more maple syrup or honey syrup, great. If you want to make your balsamic a little more strawberry, you can add a little bit more, but it's just a different taste to your mocktail. It's completely changing the flavor, but you get lots of layers of flavor because of the balsamic glaze. Okay, so that is our midnight rose is what we're going to call it because we've got a nice little strawberry on there. And I'm going to put some of these down because I know my handy dandy assistant will be over here. But I want to stop talking about mocktails. Oh, forgot to add the ice cubes to it so it stays cold. There we go. Not yet. So there you go. There's our second one. And okay, there's our strawberry balsamic glaze. And we did another experiment. I talked about this a little bit last week, but I wanted to show you some of the colors, and hopefully the camera can pick them up really, really well. But these are Easter eggs. Well, they're egg shells, but these are Easter egg shells that were dyed using nothing but our tea blends. In fact, I'm going to go through, but so many times people are using chemicals and lots of the dyes and colorings and things like that. And I wanted to show you that you don't have to go that far. You don't have to go and like, oh, I forgot this. I will tell you that we got to the point with the kids that I would forget that I needed vinegar and I didn't have a lot of vinegar in the house. And I would be like, oh, I wonder if it'll color without the vinegar. I wonder if this. We were not always the best at coloring Easter eggs. And my kids typically, although they love deviled eggs, they would get tired of egg salad sandwiches afterwards. So let's talk a little bit about colors that we can get with teas. I've only done a few here, but you're going to have more earthy, high-end tones. One of the reasons why you're going to get really good colors, and I did this, I made all the teas, the tea dye. When I brewed the teas, I brewed them triple strength, but I think that's because I was trying to show you how deep the color could go. But you really only need to go about double strength, depending. Now, you do need to add a tablespoon of white vinegar. So this is not going to be a tea that you're going to sip on afterwards unless you like vinegar in your tea. And then if you do, I'm not going to judge you, maybe a little bit, just because it's unusual. But one of the things about the white vinegar that when you're going to add to it is it's going to etch the shell a little bit so that the pigment will stick better. And so we did these different colors. Now, so what does that mean? I took about a tablespoon to make a triple strength. I took about a tablespoon roughly of the tea in the 8 ounces of boiling water. And yes, there is a green tea in here. Don't worry about that. You're not drinking it, so we don't have to worry about the burned flavor. And then I added about a tablespoon of the vinegar. I literally put them in jars, put the eggshells in there, and went with it. So you would put the eggs in there, hard-boiled eggs in there, and you would be able to just go. These sat for probably, I don't know, honey, what would you say? It was about an hour, I want to say. I think it's an hour. It might have been an hour and a half. When you get in the groove, sometimes you forget how long it is. But it's like an hour, hour and a half, no more than that. Because if this method hadn't worked, we wanted to be able to have time to do a second method. And fortunately, this one worked. So let's start here. This one is a light yellow. This we used evening mint. So that is a chamomile peppermint blend. And so the yellow has a slight green tint to it. But this is evening mint and a really pretty light yellow. And I don't know if you can see some of the modeling on the eggshell. Oh, don't pay attention to that. That's where I had it sitting. But you see little bits of modeling and texturing kind of a thing. It looks really, really pretty. So this was this egg that we did in that one. We wanted to go and see the difference between kind of like an orange and a sepia brown. And so this one is actually just made with breakfast blend, but you see how dark brown that got. It's a really true sepia tone. It almost looks like it's a brown egg. I mean, like literally it's almost a brown egg, and we used white eggs for our dyeing this afternoon. Took a sip of the mocktail and thought I was about to drink the other mocktail. Surprised me for a second. Okay. But this one is a much lighter orange. And this one just stayed in a little bit longer. So these are a nice, pretty orange. Has and now see, this one came from Maiden's blush. This one actually we use the Maiden's blush, and we got a nice pretty orange on it. And again, you can see some of the coloring and how it differentiates, etc. All right, so we wanted to get a nice green, and so we used green mint. So it looks really yellow on the screen to me right now, but it is actually a really nice, pretty pastel-y green. And the reason why we wanted to do that, the lemongrass adds a little bit of the yellow notes to it, but we have the peppermint and we have the green tea in there. Now, you could do this with an emerald garden. For sure, you could definitely do that in there, and you would have a nice light green egg as well. I will say that we did do one other one. We used Nautical Twilight, and it came out very similar to this blue, with just a hint more purple to it. But those eggs, it didn't bring up enough color that you could see in the camera. But a hibiscus or something with strawberries in it. So if I had like a strawberry hibiscus tea blend, that would make a nice, pretty, like pinky, purpley color. But this one right here, you see this is it's a blue, but it's kind of got a purple note. And that is because I used Summer Butterfly for this one. And so Summer Butterfly is one of our summer only blends. It's the one our grandbabies help create. And it does have the butterfly pea flower in there. Now we added just a little bit of vinegar. So it turned it from that pure blue to just a little bit of a purple tone to it. If you really wanted that solid blue, then I would say you could just not add the vinegar and just give your eggs a little bit longer to kind of sit in the natural dye, aka tea. But the benefit of doing that is then you get to drink the tea afterwards. And Summer Butterfly is another one of our caffeine-free blends. But there are some colors. There's lots of colors out there. You can go into the pinks and the purples and different things like that, depending. But I wanted to do these with just kind of some of the tea blends that we had up and available and ready to go. And look, they did a fabulous job. They just, it's just tea with a little bit of vinegar, and that's it. And look at how much color we got. So I thought that would be a fun Easter thing, completely healthy in ways that the other dyes and chemicals aren't. If you really wanted something in a deeper gold, you could always add just a little bit turmeric powder, but be careful. That one stains everything, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to stay away from it. Let's see, and I talked about the other colors. So if you want the pastels, leave them in less. Deeper tones, leave them in. You can even leave them in the fridge overnight. That's the benefit of being able to do it yourself and use these kind of ingredients. You can leave it in there as much as you want. But it is a really beautiful blue color that we got with just kind of a hint of the purple to it with that Summer Butterfly. So again, we used Maiden's Blush, our breakfast blend, Evening Mint, Green Mint, and Summer Butterfly to make our beautiful colors. Okay. I should have one. Here it is. I should have one more glass. All right. We've got one more mocktail to make for everybody today. And there we go. There we go. All right. And of course, it is going to use our Maiden's Blush. But this one, we're going to do it a little bit different. I am going to use the shaker because now if I make a mess, it's no big deal. First, I'm going to pop in a couple of our ice cubes. Now, the other thing that's fun to do is if you make a tea-based ice cube, you can actually just put them in and then use real water. And it's just a very diluted glass of water. It's a very diluted tea, rather. And that is always kind of a fun thing as well. Now, one of the things we're going to do with this one is we're going to use about 4 ounces All right, so as you can see, I've got this. It just adds some fun color to it too. All right, so we're gonna put in about 4 ounces of the Maiden's Blush. And yes, if you're wondering, we're going to be drinking Maiden's Blush tea for quite some time in our house because we made a whole bunch. Ooh, thought I had to sneeze for a second there. Uh-oh. Nothing like having a sneeze on a live while you're making food, people. Like, this is literally how it goes sometimes. Okay, so about 1 ounce of fresh squeezed orange juice, squeezed by the handy dandy assistant less than 5 minutes before we went live today. And we also wanted to, so what we're going to kind of do is like a Maiden's Blush old fashioned. So we could call it, so what we decided to call it was an old fashioned Maiden because it's Maiden's Blush, but we're kind of making a similar flavor to an old fashioned. So we added that. Now, one of the things about an old fashioned is it typically has bitters in it. But I will tell you, it is really difficult and challenging to find different flavored bitters that don't have kind of an alcohol base or don't have alcohol in them. An alcohol-free bitter is very difficult. So I have a workaround. You can use an extract, and I make vanilla extract. I make a whole bunch of different extracts. I'm going to add 1 to 2 drops. In this case, I'm doing a vanilla extract. I could also do an orange extract to give it a little bit more of the orange flavor. If you are not sensitive to nuts, I would actually drop in 2 drops of a hazelnut extract or an almond extract if you like those better. But the little bit of the nutty note and the extract is going to take the place of a bitters without having to go and first of all try and source something like that, and you already use extracts anyway in other cooking and baking, so it's not even necessarily something that you don't have around the house. And all I did is you can get just a little dropper, put it in a little jar, and that is what we're going to use. So we have this. Now what I'm going to tell you is we're going to do a dry shake. I recently taught a mocktail class at a local college, and I was telling them about the dry shake. That means there's no ice in it. And when you want to do a really vigorous one, and don't worry, like me, they all made a mess with their shakers, so I wasn't the only one making a mess with it. But one of the reasons why you do a dry shake is because it creates kind of like really foamy like bubbles in your tea. And one of the benefits of that is it adds to the mouthfeel. Look at that. I got the top off and I didn't make a mess. Somebody write that down. I didn't make a mess. But it adds to the mouthfeel and brings out some of the flavors. And you can kind of see I have some of that foam right there on top. Okay. So typically an old fashioned would be in a nice big square 1 ice cube. I didn't have that at that time, but you could do that. Now, the other thing is I would add a honey syrup, but again, I didn't bring any honey syrup down, so I'm going to add really just a teaspoon of maple syrup. There we go. And I got the right amount this time. Now, I'm going to use my muddler, give it a quick stir. I should have added it in there, but I knew I was forgetting something. And there you have it, a really nice old-fashioned Maiden's Blush. And then you could add just a nice little wedge. I'm adding a lemon wedge. It's not unusual for lemon or orange. We use kind of the whole orange to get the orange juice for our other one. So there you go. I'm trying to see. Yep, wouldn't put the orange juice in here, but like a little wedge of orange would be great. I didn't have another orange, so I just substitute citrus. Okay. And what I'm getting is a lot of depth of flavor. Like when we went with the balsamic, but instead of contrasting, it's really smoothing together, getting, I can't even necessarily tell that it's rooibos forward. It is very subtle rooibos. You're getting a lot of the other depths of flavors. and just a really yummy mocktail. Another one that you could do, this one having more of an orange note as opposed to the other ones we've come up with for today. So there you go. 3 different mocktails, all using that you could use at Easter dinner, because one of the things is Maiden's Blush is really great to pair against ham or pork products, which I know a lot of people enjoy over the Easter holiday, which is one of the reasons why we went with it. And a lot of similar notes. If you do a smoked ham, the smokiness in the ham is going to kind of bring out some of your apple and your orange flavors and add another depth of flavor to it, really complementing and contrasting that kind of traditional Easter dinner. I do want to remind everybody we're going to be doing our Mother's Day live sale on April 17th. And so that is coming up. And also, if you have not yet signed up and you want to be part of our class that we're going to be doing both in person and online at the same time, one of the things you can do is learn how to make a custom tea blend. Like, how do you blend teas? And order your kit so that I can get it all put together, and then you can literally go through the class. We do need to know whether you want green tea, black tea, or all caffeine free. And that is one of the things that will be, I need to make sure so that everybody's kit is specialized. And then if you have any food intolerances or allergies, please let me know, so that if you're allergic to citrus, then I don't want to put any orange zest or lemon zest in there. And so I want to make sure that every box is kind of customized to what you are looking to create. Do we have any questions for tonight? 3 different tea mocktails all ready to go. That'll be a lot of sugar. I'll have the handy dandy assistant drink most of this, because otherwise it would be too much sugar for me. Yay. But all right, well then I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Hopefully it won't be super cold here, and hopefully it won't go back to almost 100 degrees. I wouldn't mind some nice calm weather for a chance, and I know that I'm sure New England would like it to warm up a little bit too, and have some of that snow and other stuff start to melt and go away. But I hope you all have the best, and I will see you next Sunday. Have a good one.